if you have a goal to build something, whether that goal is financially based or business based, you want to build something and you want to build it large and you want to do it quick, the amount of time that you dedicate towards that is going to look very different than the person who wants to build something over the next 20 years and a little bit slower.
Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini. I'm needy, on me only, I'm needy. Hi, baby, hop in the Lamborghini. Left for a minute, I did not sweat it. Look at that cash I spent it. There it goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is another amazing guest of mine. Stroke of Success is a podcast, as you guys know, that is for entrepreneurs with special stories, special, situations. And gentlemen in front of us here, I came across him. He interviewed Danny Morel 3 years ago. My favorite podcast of all time, one of my top three. The question you're asking, Mikey, and Danny was answering back and forth. Amazing podcast. AVI was the name, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so ever since then, I started following you, and your story was just so. Let's get right into it. Mikey, thank you for jumping on and giving me the time. You're a busy guy. Thank you for being here at Stroke of Success.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Of course.
Mikey, tell us where you're from. Where are you born and raised, man?
Born and raised in Southern California. This is the only place I've ever lived, but I had a 14-year career as a professional skateboarder, and so I traveled about 6 months each year all around the world. So I've seen it all, but I've only lived here.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. Like, how old were you when you got into skateboarding?
Started skating when I was 12, did that for fun until, about 16, 17 is when I first got sponsored. And then by 19, I was being paid as an amateur skater. And then when I was 20, I turned pro.
So a lot of money coming in, fame, popularity, local hero, state hero, probably even national hero by now.
Yeah, you know what? In the beginning, it wasn't a lot of money, small money in the beginning. Small fame in the beginning because the skateboard industry is pretty small back then, but it started growing pretty fast. And then, we started making a little bit of money and, name recognition or notoriety increased. And then it all kind of went from there.
Tony Hawk, huge in your world, right?
Yeah, Tony was like the first one to break over or cross over outside of skateboarding and into, becoming like a household name.
Number two was, I forget his name. He has podcast. He's just like you, super talented, he was Danny Morel's. He did his mastermind. What's his naming us skater who was an entrepreneur?
Rob Dyrdek?
Yes.
Yeah, Rob Dyrdek. He's a monster.
He's a monster. So I put you with their names in my mind. That's why you're that level. God bless you for doing it. So tell a little bit about that story. Like, I mean, was it crazy partying you'd be invited to? I mean, was it stuff like old, out of the world type of lifestyle?
Yeah. There was a lot of parties that were going on, and there was a lot kind of happening in like the skate industry. But for me, like I was always really focused on what I was here to accomplish, and so my mission was always like be the best that I could be and build my name to be the largest. And so I kind of stayed away from a lot of the stuff that was going on, but unfortunately I had a lot of people around me that got caught up in it. And, I watched their careers last not that long.
Yeah. Like this is Hollywood. I said right before I was interviewing a Hollywood actor, Antonio Sabato Jr., same thing he told me, like, 10 of them go in a room and 2 of them come out and people just lose themselves, right?
Right.
Gluttony and all that good stuff. Bad stuff, by the way. What happened to entrepreneurship? Like, when did that bug get you?
Oh, this started happening right around the time I got my first shoe. So I got a Mikey Taylor signature shoe with a company called DVS. And it was the first time where I had to go from basically concept or come up with a design for a shoe, work with the designers, see the samples, fine tune it until we felt like we had a good product, and then figure out how to market it. And then, the more shoes I was able to sell, the more money I was able to make. That was that's when I got my first real taste. And from there, I was basically trying to do more than just be a skateboarder from that point on.
Okay.
It took a while to get there, though. I originally started to try to have like a dual role inside of the companies that were sponsoring me. So I'd be a pro skateboarder for them, but I'd also be involved in maybe product design and maybe the marketing of the team. And it just wasn't the right role for me. And that is what ended up driving me into starting my first business, which was a company called St. Archer Brewery in San Diego.
Wow. And that's took off for you. The entrepreneur side of you woke up.
That's right. And the first company we did, we opened doors in 2012, and it was one of those companies, which is not normal. It was kind of a unicorn type of situation where we opened doors and it was a vertical rocket ship. There was so much demand for it that our whole challenge was how do we grow to meet demand, which is not the normal case.
Yeah. Wow. That's a unicorn. Danny Morell's entry was amazing. You guys had amazing questions. Like he talked about the mind, right? The mindset is a key to success. Tell me your take on that. How important is the mind when it comes to life?
Yeah, well, it's everything, right? It pertains to our enjoyment. It pertains to our goals. It pertains to everything. For business, it's interesting. It's like, you see some of these guys who build these huge companies and you meet them and realize that they don't necessarily possess any additional skill that you lack. Like, your abilities seems to be on the same playing field, but why are they able to go so much further than you? And a lot of that is simply the belief that it was possible. And so, you start to learn that your ceilings are where you set them ultimately. And once you kind of figure that out, it starts getting fun, because then you can start basically pushing yourself to a higher belief of what's possible. And then it's fascinating watching your body just start to do things that you wouldn't think it could do. And so it's fun, but it's something you always wrestle with. It's like, when I started my first business, we didn't have enough money to start it. We had to raise money to do it. And back then we raised $2.5 million. And at that point, I wasn't sure if we could do it or not. That sounded crazy money. And, now I have a new limit on what I think is crazy. You asked me to raise 10 million bucks. I think that's pretty doable and pretty easy. You asked me to raise 50, I start going, dang, that's tough. You asked me to do, 250 million. Yeah. Then you're like, I don't think that's possible. But why? Is it just because I now need to work on pushing my own ceiling a little bit higher? That's usually the case.
So it's like muscles, right? When you take 5 pounds, you start with the 5 and then 10 and then 15. Like to say, man, I can never do the 100-pound dumbbell right there. Right now you can't, but you have to exercise it and build up to it. I remember you guys' podcast. I keep referring to that podcast as my favorite. I have a real estate team that I lead. I put that podcast on for them all the time because the mindset thing was amazing. So I think you guys were talking about how the mind is also like a rubber band. Mm. So I want to earn $100,000 a year. There's some people that earn that in six months. Some earn that in a month. Some earn that in a week. Some earn that in a day. Right. You have to exercise that money psychology, right, and stretch it. Because like you said, same thing I had. Like I had this thing where years ago, like, to make 6 figures is so hard. And once you do it, like, okay, not that bad. Not that hard.
Yeah. Have you seen kind of the graphs that people will do where they reverse engineer the amount of money you want to make? If you need to make $1 million, this is what you need to make per month, per day, and when you start looking at it through like more bite-sized approaches, it all of a sudden starts feeling like it's doable. Yeah. And that's the kicker. You just have to feel like it's doable, and then everything follows.
That's it. Do you believe in the law of attraction? Do you use it?
Yeah, of course. I think, so 100%. Yeah.
What you think about, what you write about, what you talk about, right? To say something and to see it manifest in your reality, right? I mean, good and bad.
Right. Good. Yeah, I would say the reason why I was a little hesitant when I responded. At the core of it, yes, but people people will take it and stretch it out to be something almost like magic, or they take it a little bit too far.
I agree with you.
What I would say is, like, if I'm going to the store and I want to, park up front, I don't think me thinking about a parking spot up front is magically going to pull somebody else. That I'm not with.
No, I agree with you.
I believe that our thoughts and what we think about produce action. And so if you're putting yourself in a situation where your time and energy is being consumed by something, then you're naturally going to drive in that direction. And then in that direction, you're going to start seeing a result, whether it's good or bad.
Yes.
If you're struggling with anxiety and a lot of fear, and you're obsessing with that, then that's going to surround you and consume you.
Yeah.
And the result that you're going to see because of it is not going to be a benefit. It's going to be negative. But the opposite is true as well. Like if you're focusing on, I don't know, you're focusing on building a business, you have your goal, right? That's all you're thinking about 24/7. And, as you focus on that, all these things start coming into play only because you're actually taking steps forward and opening doors and having conversations that are then creating option and opportunity for yourself.
Yeah. The Secret, that's the book, that's the movie that came out. The biggest thing that they missed, and they should make a part 2 to that, what I think, is a law of action, right? Because like you said, law of attraction, one thing you have in your mind, you think about it, visualize it, but to take action, I think we take the 1-2 steps. I think God or whatever you believe, the universe will meet you halfway, but you have to take the step in that direction. I agree with you.
That's right.
You're married, you have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
Okay. You got married. Well, how old were you when you got married?
I got married when I was 28.
Okay.
And then we had our first child when I was 30.
Okay. That's young. That's pretty young.
Yeah.
I got married.
For a skater, it's really young. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially you in the limelight. I personally think a woman is really important in a man's life. The right woman could take you far, the wrong woman could take you back, right?
Right.
What's your thoughts about that? How do you think in marriage your wife helped you stay stable and humble and focused?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, what's the famous phrase? Behind every great man is a great woman. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 100% true. It's for me, that at least what I was looking for in a wife, and I think this is where you can do good or do bad, right? I wanted more than just somebody who I was attracted to. And I think like that is where we end up starting to get in trouble, when we base a whole relationship only on physical attraction. I think physical attraction is important. It just can't be the entirety of it. I wanted somebody I was attracted to. I wanted somebody who I trusted. I wanted somebody who challenged me. I wanted somebody who was going to be a good mom. I wanted the complete package, so that when I looked at, my marriage or the relationship between, me as a father or my wife as a mother, that we were going to be in a position to make a great impact over our children and ultimately leave them into a direction where they can succeed in life as well. It's incredibly important. It doesn't mean it doesn't come without challenge. I think that's kind of the big part of it, as you start talking about relationships. Like my wife and I, we have different personalities, and we have different ways of communicating love and support for each other, and we have frustrations, and we're people. And so, what I would say in that regard is, you have to put in a lot of work if you want a marriage to succeed. My wife and I are big believers in going to counseling and scheduling time for one another, and we are committed to putting in the work to get past situations that are uncomfortable and ultimately kind of suck in the moment.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've been blessed by it. We've had a great 13 years of being married, and it's getting better, but the challenges are still there, if that makes sense.
They're always going to be there, right? That's just part of the process, right?
Right.
What, 40? You're 40 years old?
40, yeah.
Okay, same age as me. I'm 41. How many kids do you have?
We have 4 now.
Wow, God bless you, man.
Yeah.
How do you manage that, man? Like you're killing in the entrepreneurial game. You're all over the media, social media. Your social media is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Like you're a good husband, I can tell, good father. How do you do that?
Oh, it's a lot of work. It's hard. For me, and there's going to be people that listen to this that have a hard time with it. I get it, because I would have had a hard time with this too when I was younger. I have to schedule time out, and I need to be really mindful with my time. So like, my wife and I, for a while, it was just, we had one standing date night a week. And, my wife or myself lined up a sitter, and that night we would go and connect. And now as life gets busier, we have to kind of do more of those things, whether it's like, one day a week, we wake up together before the kids and we spend time, in the morning. And then one day a week, we do a lunch, and we're really kind of being mindful of having to force that time. And, I would have heard that back in the day, like, you're scheduling out your time and you're treating it like a business, but look, I'm making it a priority, and we're making sure it fits in the schedule.
Yeah.
So that would be one. Two, when I'm with the kids, and this is a challenge for me, this part doesn't come natural, is giving my kids and my wife my full attention. So no phone, no business. It's just time with them. And, what we're working on right now is from 6 to 8. That's the window. So I get home, we have dinner together, we do it over the table, we have conversation. Lately we've been doing like game night. So we pull out a board game, just trying to spend time with them and enjoy them without distraction.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That's good, man. 6 to 8 at a time, the family time. How do you put your phone away, dude? Like, you're so busy, like deals all over the place.
It's hard. That's the part that it's difficult to do. And I think that's one of those elements where I force it, because my natural instinct, which I don't always think is your best instinct, but my natural instinct is to be consumed with what I'm doing. And, as a business, and, you add the element of providing and all these things, and there's a lot of people relying on you and things happening. It's easy to fall into, I need to make that thing happen 24/7, or even just thinking about it without the phone. I had to force that. I had to learn how to just say, whether it's to the team, you're not getting a hold of me from this time. Having a discipline of walking in, putting my phone down, not checking it. That was a discipline that had to be created. You talked about muscles. It's starting the workout process and building a strength out of it.
And having a great assistant. Shout out to Tawny. I mean, she's great, man. Good girl.
She's really good. Yeah.
So you have to have an assistant. Before I let you go, man, like, talk to me about your daily habits, daily routine. Some entrepreneurs are all over the place, right? I'm learning more and more as I talk to entrepreneurs. They say, KB, don't go for this. Everyone has to wake up 5 a.m. No, some people wake up 8. Some people wake up 1 p.m. and they work till 2 a.m. in different country zones and different. What's your routine?
Yeah. And you're right, by the way. Like, there's no one size fits all. That's the beauty of this. I typically wake up between 6 or 7. Right now I wake up and spend some time with my youngest. She's 10 months and she's typically the one up early. Yeah. So I'll spend about an hour with her, feeding her. She's been doing like a bath in the morning, just spending time with them. But I usually leave the house before the rest of my kids wake up. And then I'm into the office. I'm typically in the office around, 7:38, and I'm here till about 5. And then from there, if I don't have anything with the city, no city council or anything like that, I'm home, we have dinner, we do some type of game night, and then we start working at putting the kids down, and then I'm typically asleep. That's the normal cycle. And then, time with my wife is then woven in and out. But one discipline that I started creating, which is new for me, Saturdays and Sundays, I don't work. I'm not working Saturday and Sundays. For me, it's given to the family. I'm spending all Saturday, all Sunday with them, and Sunday is turning into a like phone down day. And so that's been really helpful for me. And then, when I have city council meetings, instead of getting home at 5, I'm getting home at 9, 10. If there's anything out of the normal block, whether it's, an event with work or something, I'm home a little bit later. But the consistent flow is a little bit of time with the kids in the morning, in the office basically all day, and then time with them at night.
That's wow. So my listeners, my viewers listening to this, like, he said the weekend he takes for his family. You do what works for you, but I don't recommend, this word grind. You heard a lot. I'm grinding 24/7 grinding. It's a very dangerous way to live for some. If it works for you, great, but family comes at a cost. And good, Mikey, good information you gave to us. Thank you for sharing that.
You know what I'll add to it?
Please.
I think the you got to be pretty on par with what your goals are, right? Like if you have a goal to build something, whether that goal is financially based or business based, you want to build something and you want to build it large and you want to do it quick. The amount of time that you dedicate towards that is going to look very different than the person who wants to build something over the next 20 years and a little bit slower, right? If you want to get there quick, you're going to be working you're going to be working 24/7. It's going to be 80-hour weeks. You're going to sacrifice basically everything to accomplish that. And if that's your goal, then that's what you're doing. Usually that's done when you're young, right? For me, I'm now moving into a stage where I have kids and I do want that balance. And so I'm not willing to put in 20 or put in 80 hours anymore. I'm now getting good at maximizing my time. And then there's the even slower approach. Like if you want to, let's say retire and be, financially independent by 65 or be a millionaire by 65, well, you're going to have a much nicer work-life balance, at least on the life part. So it's all dependent on what you want, but when you're young, this is the time to grind. Like, when I was young, I skated 24/7. I never missed a day. That's all I did. And there was a lot of sacrifice that went into that. And I was ultimately trying to position myself to a point where then I could build upon that. So, be clear with what you're doing, understand what sacrifices are going to come by doing so, and then go after it.
Mike, you said something really important. I'm going to recap quickly for my viewers and listeners. Like 20s. 20s is a time, ladies and gentlemen, that I recommend based on I'm 41, he's 40 years old, both entrepreneurs with families and kids. Something different between me and Mikey, that Mikey busted his butt in 20s. I busted my butt, but I partied quite a bit. And that's one regret I have because, I just feel like a lot of time was wasted. Right. And for those that want to party and be out there in nightclubs, guys, do it for 1 year, get out of your system. And after that, if you will have big goals, if you want to be the next Mikey Taylor, Danny Morrell, Patrick Bet-David, or Adam Milet, these are the people that the juggernauts of the entrepreneurial world. If you want to follow their footsteps, like 20 should be spent in investing in yourself, self-development, and grinding. As you get older and older, you ease, the pedal. And then second point Mikey made, I totally agree with. Be more productive, be smarter as versus working harder. Right. Just because you put 12 hours on the thing doesn't mean that you work really hard. You do that same thing maybe 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, increment and knock it out. Right.
That's right.
Mikey, I had a question. I just lost it quickly. I'm just thinking about it quickly. Okay, so do you offer a coaching?
I don't do any coaching. Our business is we're in the private equity world. So how we make money, we basically bring on investors to manage their dollars that go into either apartment buildings or storage units. That's how our business makes money.
So break it down.
All the content that we do is just kind of meant to just add value to people.
Break it down for me. Imagine if I'm 5 years old, and I have no idea what private equity is.
Okay.
What is exactly private equity?
Okay, so you have you have things that you can invest in that everybody has access to, like the stock market, right? Anybody can open a brokerage account and put dollars in. You have private offerings that are more exclusive. They're not available to everybody. And it's typically groups like mine that go out and raise money from a bunch of individuals. And then we use that total collective dollar to either put it in, for my company, it's commercial real estate, a venture capital firm, they'd be taking investor dollars to put into startups, a crypto fund, they'd be taking investor dollars to put into coins, et cetera. So, how that works, if you want to invest in something, you're going to make the decision if you want to be an active investor or a passive investor. An active investor means you are doing the work day to day. You're finding the deal, you're managing it, you're financing it, et cetera. But a lot of investors who want to be passive investors want to make money without doing the work. And so for our company, we go out to those investors, we tell them about what we're investing in. And if they want to do it or it's a good fit, they then give us money. We put that money into, let's say, an apartment building. And then as that building starts producing revenue, we pay our expenses, we pay our debt, and then we pay a return to the investor. And then our company gets to participate in that. So our revenue comes from a participation in profits, and then we have a management fee as well.
That, in a nutshell, that's what private equity is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that could be in any different asset class. You know, if it's venture capital, it's the same structure. You're just investing in business.
Dude, you're a skater talking about private equity. That's insane, dude.
It's funny.
You know what I mean? Think about
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of this country. God bless America. I mean, that whole world now in the past, the skating world, and that, you know, that are you done with that whole thing or?
I'm not involved anymore. You know, I have a lot of friends still in the skate industry. I know a lot of the business owners, so I see them and talk to them. But you know, I'll run into people and they'll say like, "Dude, I see what you're doing on social. I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't know what you do, but it looks like you're enjoying it." You know, so private equity is a different world for skateboarding, but I'm starting to meet a lot of people in commercial real estate and venture that are skaters, not professional, but we're skaters. So you're starting to see the crossover happen. It's just not at scale yet.
That's awesome. Awesome. Good stuff. You do keynotes?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm thinking about throwing a mastermind soon. I'll give you a call. We should talk about
Yeah, please do. Heck yeah.
Have you all there. Mikey, where can we find you?
You can just search my name on any of the platforms. Mikey Taylor. I'm going to pop up. If you're interested in our company, it's Commune Capital on all the platforms or communecapital.com.
I'll put it in the description. Mikey,
Thank
God
you.
bless you, man. Good work, dude. You're doing a good job out there. Thank you for providing your time today. I know you're super busy and meant the world to me. I DM'd you the other night and it was such a pleasant experience and your assistant is amazing. So good work, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Buddy. We'll see you around. Thank you, Mikey. Thank you, man.